to explain to you real quick.
Todd Ault. Here we go. Good.
We're rolling yet?
Mark it.
There's a reason for it.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you. But for those of you who don't know, I'm really excited about this next guest. Dr. Karan is from London, and I met him on TikTok. I'm a huge fan. I hope you like him as much as I do. Really great stuff. Dr. Karan, can you tell us what you do for a living and how you got into posting on social media? I know you're a huge TikToker. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me on, Todd. You're right. So I'm a doctor. I work in the UK. I'm a surgeon, a general surgeon, and that involves everything from bowel cancer to hernia operations to emergency procedures like, taking out someone's inflamed appendix. And I've been doing, social media for about 10, 11 years. I started out on YouTube, and I guess it's an extension of my passion for teaching and education that I joined TikTok. And and then next thing I know, a few months later, here I am talking to you.
Yeah, it's crazy. I see you in my feed all the time, and it was really the first TikTok where I really saw, I see people copying you now, but I saw you really genuine, and then I was kind of feeling like, I felt like it became your friend on TikTok, where I was listening to every piece of advice you had. I've seen some of your lives and how you interact with your followers. How did you go from when I saw you to where it looks like 2.5 million now? What do you think was the secret for you getting so big? Because I just am enamored by what you're doing.
I mean, that's a good question. And sometimes I look at everything that's happened and the progress I've made and the followers I've got, and I have to pinch myself sometimes because I never imagined something like this at all. The number one thing I think for me is just me being authentic on screen. Everything that you see there, that's how my friends would describe me, how my patients at work would probably describe me if you ask them, and my parents would describe me as well. Everything I say and do and the advice I give, I want to, give people something that they can take away, something that can change their opinion or change their habit or their health, and they can apply in their daily life. And, it's all informative stuff, but obviously with an educational twist as well and an entertaining. So just be kind of doing my thing, being authentic, being honest, and just trying to, bring something new to TikTok from a kind of doctor point of view, which I don't think was there before, but I think a lot of people have joined the bandwagon now.
I see that you're live a lot with your people on TikTok, and I see what looks like to be hundreds and hundreds of questions a minute. I don't even, first of all, know how you do that, but do you think that people are enamored by the fact that you're a doctor, or a combination of that you're providing them so much value in the sense that maybe there's some anonymity in their questions to you? What do you think? Why is there so much engagement?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think a lot of people feel when they watch my videos, they get a lot of good information that they can take away and repeat to their friends, crazy facts they can tell their friends, or something that they can apply to their own lives, like how to battle stress, or, how to, do a certain thing, or, just some life tip or life hack. And I think when they come on my live, they feel that they can continue to get information, but like a live feed, and they can ask direct one-to-one questions, which I try to answer within my remit, because obviously as a practicing UK doctor, I'm not allowed to give one-to-one personal medical advice online. That would be against, my license basically. So I need to be very careful about the stuff I do. But I hope anyway, that it's a lot of it is to do with my personality. They come on lives to see what I'm up to, see what behind the scenes of a life of a doctor is about, ask me some questions, and just kind of have fun with me. And I enjoy interacting with the people that follow me, because I put videos out there, but that feels like a one-way stream, But being on a live, it feels like a two-way connection where people all around the world, whether they're in the West Indies or in Brazil or who knows, in Hungary, they can just ask me a question and they'll get an answer, hopefully.
Yeah, I've actually watched some of your lives where they start talking to you about rock music and what you like. And asking you if you're married or not. It's really enjoyable. So, doctor, I see, you're progressing past 2.5 million, and you have TikTok, you have Instagram, you are a surgeon. How are you doing all that content and being a surgeon at the same time? And I've actually seen some of your TikToks at the hospital. Looks like you're preparing for surgery. How are you able to pull all that off?
Yeah, that's a good question. And sometimes I ask myself, can I do this for, the next 10 years, 20 years, or even longer? Because I think, I would say I'm a pretty rare breed online in terms of the whole medical side of things. I'm a full-time practicing doctor and a surgeon. I'm pretty busy doing on-calls, night shifts, and I've almost got like a full-time social media career as well. It feels like I've got two jobs. And I think what it is the values instilled in me throughout medical school and throughout my training to prioritize things and just allocate certain hours in my day to just get things done. And I think, fortunately, I'm in a position where I love surgery, and I love being a doctor and taking care of people. And I love teaching people and being online and reaching so many people across the world. And you know the same thing because you're in so many businesses yourself, and you're an entrepreneur yourself. When you love something and it's kind of a hobby, well, not a hobby, becomes a passion and a labor of love, then you don't care about how busy you are. You just do it. And I'm fortunate I've been given the opportunity to do two things that I love, and a lot of people don't have that opportunity. So I'm just going to grab it with both hands, and I just make it work. Sometimes it does mean maybe sacrificing going out for a meal with, my friends. But, sometimes I just love doing this so much, I get caught up in my own world.
So I know that your family's had a big influence on you. Can you talk to people about why you became a doctor? I remember some events that maybe I don't know if I saw them online or not, about why you thought you ultimately became a doctor.
Yeah, I think, I could give you this kind of cheesy answer as, I wanted to be a doctor all my life. But the truth is, I would say there were a couple of huge milestones in my life that kind of led me down the path of science and becoming a doctor. And one of them for sure is the influence my mum had, and still has to this day. My mum's a doctor. She's a hematologist, so she deals with kind of blood disorders and things like that. And she's super into her research, and I have the utmost respect for her, and she's a huge inspiration to me. And I remember as a youngster, my mum would come home and tell me these wild stories of her time in hospital. And in those days, I'm talking 20, 25 years ago, when she was a young doctor herself working in the intensive care unit, she'd come home and tell me these really outlandish stories about, a gunshot victim coming into the intensive care unit, or, someone who's kind of high on drugs coming in and kind of attacking staff, and, really painting this colorful lifestyle as like a, high flying doctor, and almost like, it was like Hollywood, the stuff you see on TV on Grey's Anatomy or Scrubs or whatever. It kind of painted that picture, and that kind of planted the seeds in my mind that, wow, this is something amazing. My mom does that. I would love to follow in her footsteps. That was definitely one milestone. And I would say another huge milestone in my life was probably the influence of a close family friend in India. Now, when I was a kid, I would go to India pretty much every summer. And one of my close family friends, she had this congenital spinal deformity. And as a young kid, I think I was maybe 6 or 7 years old, I was really close to her, and seeing her go through this and struggling to kind of take care of herself because she had this deformity. She struggled to walk, struggled to kind of feed herself, struggled to go to school, all these things. It really kind of pulled on my heartstrings. And I thought, you know what? I want to become a doctor because I want to fix your spine. I want to do something. And, although thankfully she had surgery to fix her spine well before I became a doctor, I don't think I'll ever forget her name. Her name is Swati. And I don't think I'll ever forget her and the impact that she's definitely had on my life. And I even, I'm getting a little bit emotional thinking about it now, but I don't think I'll ever forget her, even though I'm not in touch with her so much these days.
I think this is what makes you genuine. When I see you on TikTok, I can kind of tell the kind of guy you are. But So I have a TikTok where I think I have my wife was a volleyball player in college, and the TikTok got like 847,000 views. My wife has a TikTok with like 2.2 million views. You have like crazy amounts of views on every TikTok. I'm curious as to what you consider a success. Is it, are you happy with 20 or 30,000? Does it matter to you? I see some with 400,000, some with even more than that. You've been at this a while and on TikTok. What do those views matter to you, and what do you think of about the effect on when you do these? What sort of matters to you on when you do them? What kind of response you're looking for?
So I think I think a video to be considered a success for me these days, I would say I'm aiming for something between 400 and 500,000, and obviously anything more than that is a bonus. That's me at almost 2.5 million now, compared to when I started at 0 followers or 1,000 followers or even 10,000 followers. I'd be happy with way less, 1,000 or 10,000 or even 100,000. But these days, I would, if I had a video, for example, and I've had this, on many days, I would upload a video that I think is very funny or informative or educational. I put it up, and it just gets 30,000 views or 40,000 views in a couple of hours. And although for someone growing that may seem very good, for me at this stage of growth, I would be relatively disappointed with that. Considering the amount of work I put in. And, what people have to understand when they're starting out TikTok or are in the kind of early stages of growing their social media, you need to keep putting out content. I put out 4 or 5 pieces of content a day. And, in my early stages, when I was just growing at a few thousand, sometimes I would put 6, 7, or even 8 pieces of content out in a day. And some of them would not do well at all. Some of them would do really well. And I even got to this stage where I was taking some videos down because I didn't think they were doing well. I was trying to read behind the matrix of the algorithm to see, if I take a bad video down, does that improve my account? And, just posting more to saturate the kind of feed, this kind of whole Gary V style of thinking where you keep pumping out content. And it's a constant evolution. You need to find what works for you. And at the end of the day, content is king. You need to put out content. If you don't put enough in content out there, the views are not going to come, the followers are not going to come. That's my way of thinking anyway.
What made you think about going on to social media? Was it a guy like Gary Vee? What propelled you to want to do it?
Honestly, I'd never even heard of Gary Vee until I came on TikTok. And then he was one of the first accounts I saw. And I saw this guy just screaming at the camera saying, you need to make more content. And, I didn't listen too much then, but I kept seeing him. So I thought, yeah. But the reason as to why I came on social media, as I said before, I've been on YouTube for, since 2010 or something like that. And I've just been making content with, limited success, let's say. And then I jumped on Instagram, I think in 2018, and then TikTok came, and I thought it was a kids app. I knew a lot of my, friends' kids and stuff were on there, and I thought it was just like an entertainment, dancing, singing, lip syncing kind of thing. But I thought, you know what? It could be growing. Let me just get in now, the very earlier stages. And I started putting content out, and then just overnight, essentially, I just grew.
What's happening with I'll tell you a story about me. I was in Tulum, and I was out on the beach in Tulum at a resort, and a guy walked up to me and said, "Hey, are you Todd Ault?" I'm like, "Yeah, how do you know? How do you know me?" "Oh, I know you from Instagram." And I'm like, and it freaked me out because then I took a picture with him and tagged him, and then 8 other people in Tulum said they knew me too, and that, wow, you're in Tulum. And it freaked me out about the power of social media. That guy's a friend of mine now today. What's happening with you in terms of recognition? If I'm getting recognized with 250,000 followers on Instagram, you must be getting recognized like crazy.
I mean, yes and no. I'm based in the UK, and I think even if people recognize you in the UK, I think they're less likely to approach you. I've had instances where I've been messaged on social media saying, hey, were you on the train today going to London? Or, hey, I walked past you in the hospital. I didn't want to approach you because you look busy. And, so I've had dozens of messages from people saying, oh my God, I saw you in this place, but they didn't approach me at the time. And I think that maybe like a British mentality, like they don't want to approach someone. But funny story, I was doing a night shift and I saw a patient, and she was a 16-year-old girl, and she'd come in with abdominal pain. And as a surgeon, I had to go and see her and see what the problem was. I mean, she ended up having appendicitis, which I diagnosed, organized some tests for her, etc. But during the consultation, even though I was wearing my mask, because, the COVID era, she went to me and she was like, "You're on TikTok, aren't you?" And her mum was there,
Right.
and it was all quite like weird. But yeah, I mean, and then I was on a live stream the next day, and she said, "Hey, it's me. I saw you at this hospital the other day. Oh my God." So I do get that, and I think it's nice. I'm not gonna lie, it's nice, and I hope to have it more.
Did you? I don't want to violate any of the codes of what you're not allowed to say. You didn't say her name, but did you have to take out her appendix?
So I didn't take our appendix on the night shift because we had to wait till the morning to get an ultrasound. And by the time the morning came, I was asleep, and one of my colleagues did. But I don't think I've operated on someone who's recognized me yet, but I'm sure I will.
Crazy, crazy, crazy. So Dr. Karan, do you have a video, like one you did that's memorable, which is like either it's the highest rated one, like the most views, or something you think like this was the most incredible one I've done?
That's a good question. And you know what? I've made so many videos. The last time I checked, months ago, I was over 1,000 videos made on TikTok. So, but some of them do stand out. Like, for example, there was a video I did which is very popular. I think the last time I checked, it may have racked around 15 million views or more. Basically, it was a video telling people why they shouldn't kick someone in the nuts. And talking about from a medical point of view and from a surgical point of view, because I've had to deal with the consequences of testicular trauma, is the testicles can twist, testicular torsion, and it loses its blood supply, and then the testicle can die, etc., etc. And I related that in a kind of funny, entertaining way, but with a serious undertone. And I actually uploaded the video. It got taken down by TikTok because it violated some guidelines. I remade it and re-uploaded it, and next thing I know, there's like huge TikTokers duetting it and doing it, and that got me like hundreds of thousands of followers itself. And then so that one really stands, the test of time and really sticks out in my mind. I did that I think 2 or 3 months ago.
You have it kind of segmented where you're like a storyteller of different. I don't know how to explain it, but like this weird medical fact thing you have different kinds of subject lines around being a doctor. How'd you come up with the weird medical facts? And what I'm more fascinated with, the second part of this question is the depth of what you come up with is ridiculous. I mean, like, I could watch your videos for days. Where do you come up with this amazing content?
If I could show you my mind, you would just be like, this guy is nuts, because it's constantly swirling with ideas. If I'm driving to and from work, I'm just thinking of social media ideas, thinking of video ideas, which I would find interesting. Things in my day-to-day life. I'll have an interaction with a patient and I'll think, oh my God, I can talk about this medical condition. Or if I read something in the news, for example, back when Donald Trump had COVID, and talking about this crazy experimental cocktail of drugs he was taking, I thought, oh my God, I can make like 2 or 3 videos about Donald Trump and COVID and the progression of that. And actually those ended up getting millions of views on their own. But it's just examples from my day-to-day life that I just jot down on my phone, stuff that I read about in the newspaper or read about online. Sometimes followers or friends send me some crazy stuff, like I've just made a video, and this is going to completely freak you out and any women watching this podcast. Chainsaws. We think about chainsaws being used to cut down wood, and woodwork. But chainsaws were actually invented to help women in childbirth. So, back in the days before C-sections, everything had to come out one way through the birth canal. And if the baby was breech or, too large, they would actually have to cut a segment of the pelvis. And they do that with a saw. But then these two Scottish surgeons came up with this little rudimentary chainsaw to actually cut the bone, all done without anesthesia. But, weird stuff like that interests me. And, just I've got a swirl of ideas constantly, and I'm never going to run out.
I'm in pain right now. Just the physical reaction to your, it's this is what I'm talking about. Those of you who are watching this, if you don't watch your TikTok, I'm not joking. My wife and I sometimes, because we watch a lot of TV together at night, and I found us watching your TikToks for 45 minutes. It's like a TV show. It's like a TV show. It's amazing. I think you're going to be huge. I predict that you will be a global social media doctor. I really do believe you're going to be the guy. I have no doubt about it. So I want to talk about this chainsaw thing for a second. Let's go back to this for a second. So you're actually about to put out a video where you describe and show the chainsaw that they invented and used. Wow. I'm speechless. That's amazing. I want to.
I mean, the thing I would say is that for anyone who's growing on TikTok, who wants to step foot into social media, you need to understand that any idea is potentially a viral idea or a great idea, and that can just completely change your social media game overnight. There are some ideas which I've just sat on for months, and I thought, that's not going to be good, and it's in my drafts. And then I just upload it, and surprise, surprise, it just goes viral. For example, last night, I uploaded a video which I thought was one of my worst videos I've done in the last few weeks. It's about a kid who tried to become Wolverine by injecting mercury into his arm, to try and turn his bones into metal. Okay, this 15-year-old kid. It all ended badly, but I thought that was a really bad video that I did. The production wasn't good and the lighting wasn't good, but it's crossed 1 million views this morning in 24 hours. So any idea that you have, just put it out there. Let other people judge it instead of you judging it, because that could be the idea that completely turns around your TikTok. All it took was one TikTok for me to go from 600 followers to 20,000 in one day. And that was the beginning of all of this.
I saw that TikTok, by the way, last night about the guy with the mark on his arms, the things he was doing to him. It was an Indian guy, right? An Indian kid? Hey, what happened to him?
So basically, the mercury got into his cells, destroyed some cells, and he's left with permanent deformities and contractures of his arms. And he also got some spiders to bite him because he thought that could turn him into Spider-Man, which got infected, and so it didn't end well for this kid.
But he's still alive.
He's alive, but he's by no means a Superman, and he's probably more on the kind of disabled side rather than being a superhero because of the injuries he sustained.
Yeah, that's sad. Wow. You probably see a lot of stuff. So I wanted to transition to what is a topic now. There seems to be a new lockdown in England right now over COVID, and I don't want to dwell on COVID too much. I know a lot of people have died from it, and if you depending on what side you take, it's it's the worst thing in the world, or it's like the flu, and I'm afraid of it myself. I've tried as hard as I can to avoid it. My son got it. My son's girlfriend got it. I fortunately did not get it, at least not yet, knock on wood. What can you tell us about a rational point of view of COVID? Like just a non-political, I don't know how we made masks political. It makes no sense to me, but I think I'm a pretty rational guy. So you being a medical doctor and obviously, on the front line here, What do you think about a rational point of view about where COVID is right now?
So where COVID is compared to where we've been, I still don't think we've really turned a corner. Countries across the world have experienced, multiple, waves. So we're in our second wave. Most countries have experienced a second wave, and some may be going into, further, mini waves. And I think there is now a greater appreciation and understanding about the severity of COVID. Although, it's hard to separate the politics from COVID sometimes because, some countries and some leaders of some countries have maybe not treated COVID as seriously. And, you've got certain myths which perpetuate in populations. So, notoriously, across the world, you've got anti-vaccination groups and kind of 5G and COVID groups. And there seems to be this kind of myth that's propagated that COVID is man-made, or someone's to blame for COVID and it's man-made, and it's not as serious. Like you said, it's the flu. But even though the Spanish flu back in 1918 was called just the Spanish flu, it was devastating. It wiped out millions of people, and COVID has done the same. It's wiped out, a million people. The death toll is rising. And from my point of view, COVID is significantly more, severe than the flu, although they're both viruses, the common cold, rhinovirus, adenovirus, but, and this is coronavirus, much more severe, something we haven't faced specifically, this COVID-19 strain. And I think once we wake up, listen to the authorities, and do all the things that everyone's been telling us to do: social distancing, wearing masks, hand washing, hand hygiene, not meeting out in groups. Because I've seen in Australia, in the USA, people have had coronavirus parties, where they've been gathering to then get coronavirus so they can be immune to it later on. The chickenpox parties and stuff like that, which is just completely insane. And I think we need to come together as a global community to tackle this.
I saw some data on the Pfizer vaccine. Of course, this is going to date when we're doing this podcast. But I noticed that in the data, and of course, I have a little bit of a medical background, not yours, of course, but I'm not a medical doctor or a scientist. But I've invested in a lot of medical companies over the time, medical products. I saw that all the people that it looked like all the people that got coronavirus were in the placebo group. So I'm pretty encouraged by this Pfizer vaccine. I wonder your thoughts, because to me, the data looks pretty compelling.
Yeah, I think so. I'm cautiously optimistic about the Pfizer vaccine. And to anyone I've been explaining about the results and what we can look forward to, I've been urging them to remain cautiously optimistic. Why do I say cautiously? Because even though the results are seemingly on paper positive, 90% effective, and most drug regulators were happy to accept the vaccine with more than 50% effectiveness. A 90% effectiveness rate is fantastic, but these are interim results. We haven't completed the study. Expert independent regulators haven't obviously given their say. Again, even once all that's approved, even as a emergency approval where it's all sped along, the pathway of that being created, I think we still need to mass produce, roll it out across the world. So all of that's going to take time. So we're going to be stuck with COVID for months, if not years. But this is definitely a huge silver lining in the kind of COVID, airborne cloud.
I want to transition back to your family for a second. Your father, I know your mom had a big influence on you. Your father's a lawyer. So you have a lawyer and a doctor in the family. What was that like for you growing up? And do you have any brothers or sisters?
I guess you could say that was a classic, Indian nuclear family. Mum's a doctor, father's a lawyer, engineer, or something like that. It's just classic kind of, Asian kind of family. But what's not so typical for me as, a kid of Indian origin, I'm an only child. And I guess that's probably because both my parents were very busy in their respective careers and really kind of flying high in those, their respective careers. My dad had multiple businesses, was involved in property, he was a lawyer, he was an accountant, very busy. And my mom, obviously being a doctor and busy in her own right, I guess, I think they found that their hands were full with me, and they always said, you're equivalent to 3 kids in terms of how crazy you drive us. So, I think once they had me, they thought probably that was enough. But yeah, so that's basically me in a nutshell.
So, Doc, I own a company through my holding company in England, in Salisbury, and one in Huddersfield. And I've experienced some great bangers and mash at the Gatwick Airport. But I found that English food was pretty terrible. The only thing great there was Indian food. And since you've been in both countries, I wonder if you could validate whether that's the best part of England is the Indian food.
Well, I've always maintained that there isn't really anything such as called English food, I guess, because England is now so multicultural. You've got Somalian cuisine, Indian cuisine, and you've got Mexican, Spanish, and the English food, the fish and chips or the bangers and mash or the pie and eels. No one really talks about all that. But yeah, coming back to your main question about the Indian food, I'm a little bit biased because I've got mum's cooking, and that's all stuff that she's been taught from her mum and her mum's mum, and I'm spoiled at home. I've got this traditional Indian food at home, and anything else I eat outside in terms of Indian food, if I eat like a chicken curry outside or a biryani or some naan bread at some restaurant, I'm comparing it to mum's cooking, and that's not fair because I'm always going to choose mom's cooking. But there are some good Indian places. There's a biryani place where I used to live in London that's probably the best biryani I've had in anywhere in the world. So, there are some places that are good, but, nothing can beat mom's cooking, and nothing can beat, India for authentic Indian food.
So, as we prepare to kind of wrap it up here, and I don't know what else you want to cover in particular, I'm really fascinated by what you're doing. I think you're, to some degree, doing, strangely enough, a service. I found I learn a lot from you, and you've coined a phrase, and maybe it's not your original phrase. I apologize to someone who thinks it's their phrase, but this edutainment thing. I wonder, and I'm sure maybe this will possibly be edited out, but let's go down this path together. I'm hearing that you're going to possibly be doing some national stuff, some global stuff. I'm hearing, I believe that I think I'm right in this sense. I kind of feel like your stuff is going to go to another level. Can you talk about some future projects you're doing in the edutainment world? I saw on your YouTube, you actually put on there, the word is edutainment, and I really think you're onto something. I wanted to say where you're like a Sanjay Gupta or you're like a Dr. Oz, but I just find you better than both of them. I really do think Sanjay Gupta is very smart, and I actually started a company because of him. I saw him on TV, Ultimate Neuro. I saw his program, and that's how I got in touch with the University of South Florida. But there's something about the way you do it that sort of draws you in, and I wonder what future projects you're working on. I've heard rumors that you're working on with a guy who's been part of Hollywood for 30, 40 years. Can you maybe confirm some of the stuff you're working on?
You mentioned a few names there, Dr. Oz, etc. But my main inspirations in going forward in this field, and particularly going forward in the global scale, guys like Atul Gawande, Sanjay Gupta, Louis Theroux, David Attenborough, and Robert Winston. I mean, these guys, from both a medical and a health expert commentator point of view, and also like a investigative journalist in the kind of health sector and just making documentaries, all of these people I've mentioned are inspirations and role models for me that I would like to incorporate into anything I do going forwards. And with regards to things going forwards, I think, I'm going to say, just enough to tease people because otherwise my producer won't be happy, but some really, really exciting stuff that I'm going to be working on over the next few months. And I'm not going to say more than it's based on a lot of the content I've been putting out on social media already, but the kind of twist I'm going to put on this is something like no one has ever seen or done before. And everyone, I just know it now, without sounding too cocky or too arrogant, people are going to love this. And it's going to be big.
I'm excited to look forward to it. Hey, as a side note, I want to tell you, Atul Gawande. Now, when I founded Patient Safety Technology, I bought a company called SurgiCount Medical. That was the company that ultimately sold to Stryker for that $120 million I talked about. That's a surgical sponge company that reads into the sterile field to prevent sponges from being left behind in the body during surgery. The gentleman who did it at Brigham and Women's Harvard University, who did the clinical study on our product, was Atul Gawande. So, and it was great meeting with him. I was actually on a Discovery Channel program with him where they were talking about his book Complications. So he is definitely someone to aspire to. I most of you guys know he's running the Buffett, Jeff Bezos, Chase Bank, JP Morgan Health Consortium they put together. Really a smart guy, and I can definitely see you in that category. You know, Doc, I forgot to ask you, I saw you on some TV programs. Didn't I see you like on Good Morning America, or was it Good Morning? I saw it on YouTube somewhere. What program was that?
Yeah, so I was on, I guess, the British version of Good Morning America. It's called Good Morning Britain, and it's on ITV. It's one of the kind of biggest channels in the UK, alongside BBC and Channel 4. And I was actually the show's doctor on the Bank Holiday show, which is the kind of their biggest and busiest show. Talking about Chadwick Boseman's unfortunate death and colorectal cancer. I was talking about how safe it is to travel with COVID, and the kind of filters they use in the airplane. So I was brought on there, and I've made a few other appearances on media. So hopefully this is the start of many more. But I would say, for again anyone growing and wanting to transition into social media and really make that maybe either a job or something that can bring in money or something like that, I would say be available to any and every opportunity. If someone approaches you wanting you to be on their podcast, and they've only got 100 viewers or 100 listeners, I would take that opportunity, because in a year's time, the guy that invited you on there, he may have 1 million viewers, and he will invite you back with a bigger viewer base. So I would say, within reason, don't take any opportunity for granted, and also don't shy away from any opportunities, and basically be humble. And not saying that you have a small user base, you have a massive following across social media, and I knew straight away I needed to be on your thing. But I've had offers to go on all sorts of podcasts, from people who have 0 followers to people who have 1,000 or more. And I think you need to treat them all equally and just be open. And that's the key. Be available, because you don't know which opportunity can open the doors for you just to grow viral.
Well, you keep proving my point about you being likable and trustworthy, and a guy that you'd want to watch and trust and really feel like you're at home with. I think it's probably a testament to your upbringing. So congratulations to your parents. It's wonderful. I hope next time I get to do this in studio with you. I know this is a little difficult, from you being in London and me being in Newport, and I'm really excited. I do know secretly a little bit about some of the stuff you're working on, and I think you're going to be huge. We'll make sure for the audience, we're going to make sure all of you have access to all of his social media. We're going to post it several times through this podcast to make sure that you have access to it. And we appreciate your time, and obviously keep helping people, and we look forward to your next program, and keep watching you on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. It's exciting. It's been exciting for me to watch you evolve from a little bit of following to this massive following to you edutaining us, as you call it, and I'm so grateful that you get on the show today.
There's a reason for it.